I'm the principal actor and art director for Borrowed Time. That includes having to bring out all these whole host of characters into the shoot, as well as directing the art, the themes, the motifs, and the moods behind all the goddesses that were portrayed on set that day.
You are a model, photographer, art director, designer, cooking show host, content creator, and an actor. How does something like that happen?
Depression. Probably not the best answer, but in truth, it's the desire to create is never ending, and it doesn't really matter through what channel in which I create. It's just a matter of doing it and wanting to do it. It's like a compulsion, really.
Now, of those or anything else, do you have a preferred role, a favorite?
I don't know if I have so much of a preferred role, but I have a preferred method in the sense that I want to make everyday moments of magic with what I create. That could be as simple as cooking a beautiful elven-inspired meal that you can see across Tamriel from Skyrim, or, I don't know, depicting a fairy creature, dragging a man up to his depths in my own photography. I think what has helped a lot in this project is that these are characters and motifs I've worked on in the past. So there's not a lot of character work I need to do additional in preparation to this. These are already like prototypes or archetypes that I already work with. So it's more so getting into the right headspace per character and really aligning yourself with what each character means and what they represent.
So there had to have been a common theme or a central idea that linked these characters, right?
The common theme across all these characters is femininity, specifically feminine rage and feminine empowerment. All of these characters, goddesses if you will, have had something taken from them that they had to sacrifice in a way, with Mary being her son, with Hecate being her followers. In each instance, the goddesses have to force themselves to change, as is the nature of their very being. Ten out of 10. No, Nyla's meeting is honestly phenomenal. Absolutely. The professionalism, the dedication to time management, which if you work in this industry is probably the most, if not the most critical thing you can expect out of any production company. So, 10 out of 10 points for nihilism. Yeah.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual. Ugh.
What I thought was really great about that scene was being able to work with another actor in the same fantasy space. As an artist, I tend to be very isolated, so seldom do I get the chance to perform with another actress. So that was, off the bat, amazing. The theme, the motif behind that scene is Lilith coming to comfort a woman, kind of in a way being that devil on her shoulder as well as that angel and savior. You don't really know which is which. So I just thought it was a very empowering scene, and honestly being able to work with Anna was phenomenal. Like, she's great, and it was nice to like build off that same energy.
What was it like acting with Erik and Totem, the dead gods are the new gods?
What was it like? Well, they're very enigmatic, dramatic, which is the best. Especially when you're doing really long hours. It's nice to have someone there keeping the energy alive. Plus, they're also the writers of the song. So it's great as an artist to be able to work so closely with those who created the original basis for this media and get their feedback. So yeah, it was great. I'll never forget almost setting Erik on fire. That was awesome.
Small correction, we did set Erik on fire.
We did! We actually did. It didn't last for too long, though, so...
Yeah.
Does it count? I don't know. Borrowed time is our story. It's the story of a never-ending repeating cycle that we hope and pray sometimes to break out of. That requires you to be very conscious and self-aware to realize. And I think that is what the song is begging us to do, to not repeat the mistakes of our past. That we're going to be confronted with the same issues time and time again until we can rise above it, if we have the strength to do so. So I own a clothing company, House of Libid, with my mom. Shout out to Mom, love her. We started this clothing company actually over a decade ago under the name of Ella Universe. And, you know, due to me going away for college, it never really manifested into a genuine business until almost 2 years ago. And it's been a wonderful experience, from being able to go from design to production and patterning and finding the ways in which to sell things online, which is its own story. But the goal of the fashion line since the beginning has been to empower women and to feel our most divine, to bring back color and fun without fear. So where we draw inspiration from when we design clothes, in part, sure, it's nature, but more frankly, it's femininity. It's kind of like different archetypes of womanhood, from the self-loathingness that you get from Ophelia, or the strength that you get from more modern depictions of Lilith. A lot of our motifs come from strong women. Our biggest icons for fashion would be Grace Jones, for instance. So yeah, I think we just take inspiration from what other strong women have done in the past and reimagine them for modern times. So I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I lived there until I was about 5 years old, and then I moved to South Florida in the United States. Quite a juxtaposition there, from being in a metropolitan city to then being in the suburbs of South Florida. But it's hard to depict where I lie. Am I more Argentinian? Am I more American? Time would dictate that I'm more American, but culturally I could never feel more different.
Why is that?
I think because no matter how much time you spend in a place, where your family is from, your cultural heritage, and then also, in fact, because you're raised by those people from the same heritage as I was with my parents, you identify more with that culture sometimes than you do with the culture that you're being raised in. It's kind of like being stuck in this weird third place, where no place really truly feels like home.
Did you come from a religious family?
I came from a Roman Catholic family, but they weren't extremely devout. I come from a family of engineers, doctors, architects, that sort of like. They're more your scientific mind rather than your religious type. However, I will say that Roman Catholicism has shaped my life quite a bit. Mostly because of my grandfather discussing spirituality as a conversation with God or the universe, whatever it is you may choose to call it, instead of it being held in a church. And his open-mindedness, I think, is what allowed me to peel myself apart from religion and religious structures and focus on my own connection with spirituality.
So growing up, who were your mentors?
As silly as it may be and as basic as it may be, my first mentor was my grandfather, for reasons mentioned before. His open-mindedness, both being a logical, engineered-brained human being and also deeply passionate, poetic, and spiritual. After that, I would say it's my mom, always regarding me as a small human instead of a feral child, and I think allowed me to gain consciousness sooner. And beyond that, though, I would have to say every single science teacher I've had, every single art teacher I've had, English teacher, you name it. It cannot be minimized, the effect that a good teacher will do. How they will push you forward and kind of reawaken these skills and traits that you have that you don't see in yourself.
At what point in your life do you decide that this, whatever we want to call it, art, entertainment, show business, whatever, is something that you're seriously going to pursue?
Do you want the real answer? Because it's really morbid.
Of course I want the real answer.
Sometime in college, I stopped doing art completely. I don't know that person, quite frankly. I think that person, that version of me, was horribly depressed. I wouldn't say that I was actively suicidal, but I was reckless to the point of I didn't care if I died based on whatever I did. And a big part of that had to do with how disconnected I felt within myself. Like I mentioned before, for me, and probably for most artists, art is a compulsion. It's almost like being a vessel for which art can be channeled, and if you don't allow yourself to be that vessel, you will be completely dysregulated. And we all grow up with those pressures of wanting to be a part of society, of joining the 9 to 5, if you will, and being successful. At least I did as a child of immigrants / being an immigrant myself. And it took for me to finally getting that big girl job at a media agency to realize that this is kind of for nothing. I may be able to get the proverbial carrot on the stick, but will I be pleased? No. So I kind of left everything and decided to be a photo art assistant for a year and kind of started building up my work since then. So yeah, the real answer, short answer, is being suicidal. And art is like the anti-suicide, if you will.
Do you think that there's anything out there that is off limits artistically?
Yes, I do think that there are certain things that are off limits artistically. I think people should follow by the general golden rule of not doing harm unto others. So yes, I think there's a term for it that I recently found out. It's not smut. What is it? Point being, don't harm other human beings in the creation of your art. Whether it be intentional or unintentional, just don't do it. Or animals, for that matter.
Yeah.
I honestly forget the term of it, but one of my friends who's a horror fanatic said that there
exploitation.
That there's horror films where actual people are being harmed, and I would say that's off limits, but that's off limits not because it's for the sake of art. That's off limits even if you were a doctor. I'd say that's off limits in general as a human being.
What are you working on currently?
I've recently moved to St. Louis, so our newest projects have been mostly centered around House of Abade, revitalizing our brand, doing more photo shoots. Our next photo shoot that we have planned is actually based on some AI concepts that we've been seeing lately, kind of like a chrome, futuristic, cyber goth with our fashion. So that's my next mini project, if you will.
What's something you now know that you wish you had known 10 years ago?
What I wish I would have known 10 years ago. Freak out a little less. Yeah, honestly. More so, stop overthinking about things and just let things happen. and probably never stop doing art. That's probably one of them. But in the same vein, if I never stopped doing art, I wouldn't have known the depths of my own despair, and that's probably kind of important as an artist, as much as I hate to admit.
You're given two choices. Choice one is you'll be financially well off for the rest of your life, but you could never create a piece of art again. Option two is your work would be beloved and studied after you died, but you would never make a cent throughout your life, and nobody would ever know who you are. Which would you pick?
A life of comfort or a life of creating? That's a tough one. But I think I have an answer. In truth, younger me would have picked the choice of comfort, which would have been, sure, I'll have money, but I won't be an artist or be recognized as one. I won't be creative. And that to me, in the time that I did that, was a walking form of death. So at that point, I'd already died mentally. Meanwhile, not having much money and being an artist, at least that's some sort of life for me. And in all frankness, though, and this is something that I want to point out, most people believe it's a misconception that, like, you have to be an artist, you have to be poor. That's not true. To make art is to create, it's to be, it's to exist. And there's many, many ways to help other people, including yourself, through art. So I would rather take the risk of thinking that I'll make no money doing art than to live a life watching art being made by others through a black screen.
It's a pretty intense question, huh? Yeah. So I have one even more personal, okay? What is your favorite swear word?
In English or Spanish?
Whichever.
I just want to say puta. It just rolls off the tongue so easily. It's like one of those explanations like people say fuck in English when they stub their toe, like for anyone who's a Spanish speaker, or Latin speaker rather, you say puta.
You get to heaven. What do you hope the first thing God says to you is?
What are you doing here? I didn't have to think about it.
Final question, nice and easy. Where can we find you and your work?
Okay, well, you can find me across social media at Alquatica. And yeah, that's about it. You know, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, I guess.
In the comments of this video, or in the description of this video.
Yeah, that too, but yeah. I'm just Alquatica, that's my artistic name, so you'll find me on social media that way.